For everyone that thought that the Dodge Durango Hellcat would never be a thing, well, you were wrong, because here it is. Come on, we all knew this was going to happen. Dodge's current formula is to stuff this 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8 into everything possible, and they've now stuffed it in the Durango, and it's absolutely insane. I do have to refrain from really pushing this thing so you can hear me better, but this thing makes 710 horsepower, and that makes it crazy fast. And that Hellcat sound actually is something I can never get bored of. Well, sometimes. Sometimes it can get a little too much, and that's just me starting to show my age. Speaking of showing age, the Durango also falls into that category, but for 2021, they've made some updates to keep things a little bit more exciting. That being said, let me give you a tour of the 2021 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about this craziness. By the way, I'm not even in track mode and it sounds like this. But before I do, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, because I'm waking up super early in 19-degree weather to film this for you, and all I ask is that you hit that subscribe button. All right, let's do this. By the way, I don't know how many of you actually stick around till the end of the video, but you might want to do that today, because what I'll tell you about the Durango Hellcat will make you really mad. So make sure you stick around. Now, the Durango lineup itself has some new updates for the 2021 model year, but this is a Hellcat, so it's a lot cooler. Let's check out some of the cool and interesting things. Of course, let's kick things off by listening to the exhaust sound. Now, of course, this thing does have launch control, and you can activate it just by hitting this button and going for it. Or if you want a little bit more control, you can go into the SRT pages, select race options, and you can activate launch control from here. And you can actually set your engine holding RPM that you want to launch at, so you can have the perfect launch. Wow. Now, the SRT page that we use during our launch control is basically your performance hub, and you can activate it just by hitting the SRT button down here, and then you can dive into deeper options, including performance pages, drive modes, and race options. The performance pages section is basically a bunch of info on your Durango Hellcat. You can look at timers, your 0 to 60 timer, your gauges, your dyno and engine, your G-force meter, and your vehicle dynamics. It's a bunch of information that you can go to, and you might need it when you hit the track or something like that. And then you have your drive mode section, and you have the option to pick between track, sport, auto, snow, tow, and custom. Here's something interesting. No matter which drive mode you're in, you have a setup button, and in there you would think you can go in and customize whatever you want, but you can't, because it just keeps denying you on any change you want to make. So the only mode you can really customize is the custom mode. And once you hop into custom setup, you can customize your transmission, paddles, all-wheel drive, stability, suspension, and steering. And you can hop into each one, and it'll give you all the information you need on which setting does what. So while we're here checking out the SRT dashboard, let's hop into the new infotainment system, which is housed in a 10.1-inch touchscreen display. This is the new Uconnect 5 infotainment system, and Dodge says that this is 5 times faster than the outgoing model. It's definitely faster than the outgoing model. I've always loved the Uconnect infotainment system. It's definitely quick and easy. It might not be the most advanced or cool in the industry, but what I look for in an infotainment system is that it's quick and easy, and this one definitely does it. Uconnect 5 also introduces a personal assistant like the ones you see on luxury brands, and you can simply activate it by saying, "Hey Dodge, I'm hot.
I've set the temperature to the minimum."
One cool thing that I do want to point out, how cool is this? Once you hop into the comfort section of your infotainment system, which is basically your climate settings, all the passenger icons are wearing racing helmets, because this thing is a beast. That's very cool. And last, the SRT logo on the steering wheel lights up at night. That's probably the coolest ambient lighting feature that you'll get in here. There's no other cool ambient lighting in the new Durango at all. Let's get into the pricing details. Pricing for the Durango Hellcat starts at $80,995. As tested here, though, you're looking at $94,345. So $94,000 plus for a Dodge Durango is a lot, no doubt, but it starts at $80,995, and my test model has some optional extras that you could really live without. I'm not going to run down the full list of options that I have here, but I'll point out a few expensive options, including the Laguna leather seats for $1,595. These are actually very, very comfortable, and I would probably upgrade to these for sure. And then you have the Tech Group package, which costs $2,395, and all it does is add a bunch of driver assist tech. It also has a rear entertainment system for $1,995, or you could just buy your kids some iPads, unless you want to do some gaming because you do have an HDMI port. And then I also have the premium interior package, which costs $2,495, and that'll give you a suede headliner, carbon fiber accents, and things like that. Interesting note here, and something that really pisses me off, you don't get a sunroof as standard for a car that costs over $80,000, and that really sucks. You'll have to pay an extra $1,295 if you want a sunroof, and it's not a panoramic sunroof either. But really, you don't have to add anything at all because this thing comes pretty well loaded as standard. You get the Uconnect 5 infotainment system with navigation as standard. You get heated and cooled front seats along with a heated steering, which comes in handy on a cold day like this. You also get heated rear seats. So yeah, for $80,995, this thing is pretty well loaded. Let's talk about power and performance because that's the exciting part here. Power comes from a 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8 making 710 horsepower and 645 pound-feet of torque, and that's made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. And this engine is amazing, and that's why Chrysler is stuffing it into everything they can find. And even though this thing weighs over 5,700 pounds, it will do 0 to 60 in just 3.5 seconds with a top speed of 180 miles an hour. This thing is pretty crazy. It'll run a quarter mile in just 11.5 seconds, and Dodge is really living up the fact that no SUV in the world can tow more or carry more with a faster quarter mile time than the Durango Hellcat here. And it's true, this thing can tow an outstanding 8,700 pounds, which really means that you can tow your Dodge Challenger Hellcat in your Dodge Durango Hellcat to the track and run quarter miles in both. What a crazy world we live in. Of course, all that fun comes at a price. Fuel economy wise, the Durango Hellcat will do 11 city and 17 highway. You have a 24.6 gallon tank capacity, and on a full tank, this will only do 240 miles because this thing drinks fuel. After a couple days of driving, I'm averaging 10.2 miles a gallon. My God, my wallet hurts. Now, when it comes to the looks, this thing looks pretty boss. It looks more aggressive than your average Durango. I've always been a fan of the exterior design of the Durango, and it goes into 2021 with a few upgrades. The Durango Hellcat obviously looks meaner with an SRT front face that has cold air intakes that replace the fog lights and a giant hood scoop to help cool the engine, obviously, because it heats up a lot. The front also has a high airflow grille, and overall this thing is wider and has a tougher stance than your average Dodge Durango. But the craziest thing here are the wheels and the brakes. So you have giant 20-inch wheels, but you also have these beefy and massive 6-piston Brembo brakes with giant 15.75-inch 2-piece rotors on the front. And in the back, you get 4-piston Brembo brakes with 13.78-inch rotors, so you'll have no problem at all stopping this thing. Other than that, you have a bunch of Hellcat badges all around the car to tell everybody out there that you're the big daddy on the road. Now, before we move on, let's check out the cargo capacity. You can pop the trunk by using the key or the button located right under this handle. And once you get it open behind the third row, you get 17 cubic feet. With the third row folded, you get 43 cubic feet. And with the second row and the third row folded, you get a massive 85 cubic feet of space. That's insane. And then when you're done with the trunk, you could just hit this button right here. It's not located there like it usually is, and the trunk will just automatically close and you can be on your way. Now, we've already talked about a lot of the interior and seen a lot of the interior, but let's take a closer look inside and see some other updates. Now, since the Durango Hellcat is the top of the line Durango and it costs more than $81,000, you'll definitely see some nicer materials around this cabin. Everything inside is pretty premium. You have a leather wrapped dash, some really nice stitching all around, the white stitching all around the cabin. It looks really, really nice. The dash above the steering wheel also wrapped in leather. The side door panel also wrapped in leather. Even areas where you would expect hard plastic are also wrapped in leather, so this is really nice. Nonetheless, you can definitely point out some areas where the Durango is starting to show its age. There is some hard plastic right here, but you have a push pedal emergency brake. That is mad early 2000s. The buttons are the same old buttons that we've seen here for a while, super plasticky. The steering wheel obviously is the same old steering wheel, but the gauge cluster is super clunky. It's very slow. I've honestly given up trying to even mess around with this thing. It just keeps freezing. So yeah, Uconnect 5 is amazing. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, but once you go into media and you select rear media, what happened on the screen? I think this is just a problem on my particular model. At least I hope so. And then unfortunately, you don't get any advanced camera angles at all. You just have this same old pixelated rear view camera. So yeah, the Durango is definitely starting to show its age. But that being said, as I pointed out earlier, they have made some attempts to spice things up with a little bit of modern tech. Besides the standard heated and cooled front seats and a heated steering, you do get USB-C ports and a wireless charger, so that's pretty modern. Could they have done a little better? Yes, of course, but it's a start towards a better future, so let's be optimistic. That being said, I don't think anybody shopping for a Durango really cares about all that stuff because this thing still sells pretty well, and that's because it's a great family SUV. Hop into the second row and you're welcomed by 38.6 inches of rear legroom. I'm about 6 foot tall. That's my seating position. As you can see, plenty of room. And if you want the center armrest with some storage and a USB port in there, you will have to pay $595 extra, but you get 2 cup holders and some other storage stuff there. So that's pretty cool. To get into the third row, all you have to do is pull this latch right here. The seat folds down and then you pull this right here, the strap, and you can hop in. Not that much room to get in, but it's okay. You have pretty strong leg room back there, and you have my cleaning towel to wipe down the car. Now, before I give you my opinion on how it is to drive the Durango Hellcat, let me point out a few random things that I love to show all of you. You have 6 cup holders, 2 in the front, 2 in the second row right there, and then 2 in the back for the third row passengers, 1 right there and 1 right there. Here are what the keys look like for the Durango Hellcat. Just like every other Hellcat, you get a red key to unlock all the power that this thing can produce. Let's remote start it and hear that exhaust once again. Nice. Door open and close from the outside and from the inside. Not bad. And let's hear the horn sound on the 2021 Durango Hellcat. Pretty solid. Now that I've given you a tour of the 2021 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this absolutely crazy beast. Let's get to it. Alright, so a starting price tag of more than $80,000, and as tested here, you're looking at over $94,000, and that's crazy. But I think it's starting to be normal for cars to cost over $90,000 and hitting the $100,000 mark. The Dodge Durango falls into the large SUV category, and since there's no high-performance version of the Chevy Tahoe, GMC Yukon, Nissan Armada, or the Toyota Sequoia, I'll have to do the unfortunate thing and compare this to a BMW X7 M50i, the Alpina XB7, and the Mercedes-AMG GLS 63. I'm sorry, but I have to. I really have no choice. And unfortunately, the Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat also kicks all their asses. So you can go drop $132,000 plus on an AMG GLS 63 or even $141,000 plus on an Alpina XB7 and feel all rich and powerful, but when you meet the Durango SRT Hellcat at a red light, you will get beaten. This 5,710 pound beast will also beat the Audi RSQ8, the BMW X5M, and the GLE 63S, and not to mention, it'll sound better than all of them doing it. Honestly, I would buy this thing just to make everybody that spent an insane amount of money on a high-performance German luxury SUV really, really angry. You can also do that in a Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk as well. As a daily driver, the Durango SRT is pretty comfortable. It still retains its family SUV values, but I will say it might be a little difficult to get a baby to go to sleep in the back if you have this constant rumbling of the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 and the sound when you accelerate. I don't think a baby can sleep through this. Also, keep in mind, the Durango Hellcat won't be around forever. Dodge will only be making this for the 2021 model year, and after that, it'll be discontinued. So if you want one, better get one now. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at Omar Drives. And make sure you share my content with your friends that also enjoy cars. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Peace. I love this sound, and I love this car.